Hello, and welcome to Art with the Armory, brought to you by AARP Alabama. Today, the artist from the Armory Learning Arts Center will show us how to paint a beautiful cardinal on a piece of wood that you can bring inside to enjoy all day without having to step out in the cold that we have right now. So stay tuned, get your supplies ready if you have them, if you read what the supplies are and you need those. Pull those up, get those ready. If not, just watch, get out a piece of paper and a pen and take some notes, and this video will be on. We'll always have this up. So please stay tuned, and we'll get started in just a second. Hey, good afternoon again. I'm Ann Hales with AARP Alabama, and today I'm joined by Margaret Barber of the Armory Learning Arts Center and artist Carol Barksdale. But before we start, I want to do a very, very quick reminder to tell everybody that you can go back to this video and any other videos. I think I'm hearing this. I think it's coming from this, so please excuse. And any other video that we have created beforehand. We did several art videos last year, and you can go back to those and look at the AARP Alabama Facebook page, AARP YouTube page, and I think some of these, right, Margaret, are on the Armory Learning Arts Center page.
Yep. Right? And our Armory Learning Arts Center YouTube page.
And the YouTube page. Mm-hmm. So you can go back and look for any of these on those pages. And if you missed, we did a Wisdom Wednesday episode this morning. We do those every Wednesday from AARP, and my coworker in Mobile, Dorothy Dorton, does those. Today, she focused on AARP Alabama and what we are doing and advocacy, and Anna Pritchett, our advocacy director, and Candy Williams, our director, were on that. If you missed that, please go back and check that out. That's active on our Facebook page right now. You'll learn more about AARP Alabama and the priorities that we have for this year and ways that you can get involved with AARP. So again, welcome, Carol and Margaret. Carol, we're really looking forward to this project, and I want to go ahead and move straight there. But I want to give Margaret 1 second to give us an update about what's going on at the Armory. Anything, I know that things are changing as we're all dealing with the virus, but yes. What kinds of things are going on at the Armory, and what can we expect? And just fill us in.
We have our January through May schedule up, and you can find that at funinmontgomery.com. And all of our classes are available to make. Some of our teachers choose to wait until they get a limited number, but we can only accommodate 9 or less. That's 9 plus the instructor. So we're trying to accommodate any kind of restrictions that we have. And we tip at the door, and we ask the people wear a mask and hand sanitize, and we're doing all we can and trying to be flexible and give people some good, fun art classes too.
Excellent. I'm apologizing. I think this is here, but I think you can't hear me if I don't have these on. All right, Carol, you are. Tell us a little bit about your background in art, and I do know that people can find your art at Gallery 1. You can tell us where that is. But you have been a professional artist for since you graduated from college, correct?
Yes, right? That's correct. So that's been a little while, but I won't say exactly how long. But yeah, I have been a professional artist all my career. And I taught art for about 25 years in the Elmore County school system on a contract basis, just because they didn't have really any art program. They have more of one now. But you know, so it's always been important to teach children, to teach adults, to share, you know, the joy of just being creative, you know, in any way we can. I'm also like you mentioned, a professional artist, and my work can be seen at Gallery 1 here in Montgomery. That's at 423 Cloverdale Road. And I've been a member there since 2002. So for a while. But come and see us there. We've got a great website too, gallery1fineart.com.
Great. We will do that.
Oh.
And we will do it safely and take our mask.
I forgot to
There you
mention,
go.
Carol is going to be one of our new art instructors at the Armory this year. So we're glad to have her. Sorry, I didn't mention that earlier.
Exactly. And I'll be I'm teaching an acrylics class, which is still open. I'm teaching a watercolor class. So that's gonna be a lot of fun, and it starts up January 18th.
Next week.
So coming right up. Yeah.
Terrific. Okay, so right now let's go ahead and move. We have today, they have recorded several videos. These will also be on YouTube. These videos are sequential, so they move through this whole sequence of creating this artwork. If you have a question, please put those in the comments section as we're moving along. So after each video, we'll stop and Carol can take your questions. So let's do the first one.
I'm an artist that's going to guide you through a cardinal painting. And to get started, we'll talk about the kind of supplies you're going to need for this little project. We will we'll sketch out our little bird and kind of go through the shapes, and then the leaves, kind of give you an overall view of how those will look. Paper, pencil, eraser, brushes, and you can use a variety of brushes. We have some examples, just a little kind of hobby type boards, a little small canvas works, other kinds of boards you see, you know, that you could get in a hobby store. We're going to use a blue, a black, green, red, white, and probably a little yellow. So we have, you know, just a limited palette.
Okay, and we don't have any comments or questions coming in yet. I do have a question though about the boards, and I think you're going to mention it too, that you can get those at hobby stores, correct?
We can.
And you had some that you could show, Margaret. Let me pull those bigger.
Little, you know, just little panels, wood panels or canvas panels. Carol painted on a really pretty little live edge board. So yeah, any of these can be found at a hobby store.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
There's mine. It has a beautiful little bark edge to it, which I love. Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, we'll go on to the second video then. Remember, if you have a question moving along or want to know how to get something or what kind of paint to use, be sure to ask.
All right, now we are ready. I said a pencil, but I'm actually going to be drawing with a pen so that you can see it really well. We're looking for basic shapes. So we see a little circle for his head. We see kind of a triangle shape for his beak. So right now I'm just going to kind of just sketch out a little triangle. Like I said, we're not looking for perfection here. We're looking to have fun, and we're looking to just do something creative. He's got kind of a little, he's got a very pretty little pronounced little ruff. It kind of looks like this shape. So we've got, you know, it's kind of just a little, almost like a little hatchet shape on his head. We're going to go ahead and draw the little area on his face. He's got that, one thing that makes him so pretty is that little, almost like a little mask on his face in the black, and it's it just comes down. It goes out for his eye, you know, where his eye is, and then it comes down below his face. So basically all of this shape in here, other than where we put his eye, is going to be dark. His body's going to be basically an oval shape. So we're kind of a partly oval, straight back, kind of a straight line down his back, and an oval, part of an oval shape. Not real big. One good thing about doing this sketch beforehand is that you're really familiar with his shape by the time you get done. His little tail is small, just kind of a little fan, almost a little fan shape. And it's actually about as long as his body is. So, you got those two. You can kind of measure with your eye. And then we're going to connect right there, connect to the neck. And then we've got just a little edge of a wing shape right here. Just a little indication of his wing. Some little straight legs, or angled legs actually, and a little foot. The little foot is like this shape. He's perched on a branch. So next we'll get that branch shape in there. And it's just going to be basically 2 straight lines. Like that. So we already have our little bird. He should look something like that. So I like to do the straight line because that gives me some direction. And then I'll just do a little wavy line that meets that straight line at the end. And then I'm going to kind of cover over, when I paint, I'm going to cover over this leaf here. Or not the leaf, the edge of that twig. So there's a little leaf right there. And we've got some little round, these are nice for a little spot of color, the little round holly berries. Behind that, another leaf. And so I'm using my same straight line down the middle. Basically, you can make these as long as you want to, as big as you want them to be. And then just a little wavy line that ends up at the end of the straight line. So as you're drawing, be looking for those. So we've got the straight line again in the middle. And this is some kind of, almost like a little fern leaf or something. These are kind of just little shapes that follow along the edge. You see what kind of shape I'm doing here? Just a little pretty small leaf that follows along the edge. And then on the other side, same way. So there you go.
Okay. So I do have a question for you though about you doing the drawing. That helps you know exactly what you want to draw on the wood, because I imagine, and this is a question, not a comment really, I imagine that it's a little more difficult to erase from wood. So you kind of really want to know what you're going to put on there. Is that what you're trying to do?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's always better. And this holds true even if you're doing a large painting or anything. You kind of do your thinking through in the sketch phase of something. So that's where you work through the problems of your design, or work through where you get to know your little whatever you're working on, your subject well. And then it's much easier to transfer that idea once you're familiar with it.
So any kind of painting that you're doing, you're probably going to go through that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move into the next one then. And if I start the wrong one, let me know.
All right. Well, we should be ready to start our little painting. And if you've got your palette, well, here's the paints we're going to need or use. You may have a few others than I have. Basically, I've got just a little bit, it's not going to be a big painting project. It won't take a lot of paint, so you don't need a whole lot. I've got the black and brown. I've got a light brown just to mix with. It's actually raw sienna, kind of a golden brown. The red, got a dark green, and I've got my yellow right beside it because I can mix those two together and make a nice light green for that ferny looking flower. And then some white. And the white's going to be our background color. You can also, there's a blue. If you've got blue, a blue would be beautiful for the background color. So that's where we're going to begin. I'm going to be I'm going to be drawing it with my pencil. I'm going to draw what we just drew. Now I've chosen this board with the one with the edges, the pretty edges, for my project. And then it's also got a little hanger on it, which is nice. When you get done, you'll have a beautiful little project. And I'm actually going to put a little bit of tape around mine. This would be it'll have a pretty little edge to it if I tape off an area. And I'm just going to tape off an area big enough. It'll almost be like a little wooden frame around it when I get done with it and pull the tape off. So I'm going to put that tape on, and I'm going to press it down pretty well so the paint doesn't get up underneath it and mess up my idea. But so we got basically just a little rectangle to paint inside of. Not any certain size, just big enough for your bird to be in, your bird and your leaves. Okay, so we've got that taped off, and we are ready to begin. Okay, so I'm going to do my same drawing. I've got my drawing in front of me, and I'm going to remember how I did it. Did it on the paper. Remember that our bird is pretty much the main part of our little project. So leaves can kind of come and go or fit in where you see fit. And it's not a very big space that I'm working on, so kind of keep that in mind. Your bird's not going to be as large as it is on the paper. He's going to be a good bit smaller. It'll be more like the one on this little demo. But we still start with a circle, and remember too that all of these surfaces will be painted. So if your lines, end up being in the wrong place, don't worry too much. That's the main thing. We're having fun and not worrying. So here we go. I'm going to start with his little round head. And if you can see the size there, it's fairly small. So keep that in mind. We don't have a lot of space right here. We've got a small space. We have enough space. We have plenty of space, but it's a small space. And we're going to go through the steps just like we did when we did our sketch. It's one really important reason to do a good sketch and to spend time. Really, a lot of your thinking goes into this part of it, so that when you get to this part, you can just relax and paint. So it's more enjoyable if you spent time thinking through how you're going to do things and kind of sketching them out and really taking more time on your drawing so that you worry less when you get to your painting. All right, now notice I've got a little more space than I had. I think he's at a different angle. That happens. So I've got more room. If I wanted to add another leaf or two, I could. But I'm going to leave him just like it is. And I'm going to begin with our little bird. So we're ready to begin to paint. So that's exciting.
Okay. Anything that you would like to add to that? No.
And I'd like to mention just one thing, and that is the sort of paints that, if you're beginning a project that you might want to use, or that our viewers might want to use. A set like this, if you can see, the set they're not very large. It's a set you can get at a local hobby store or craft store. It has your paints. It has some nice little brushes and a little palette, so you can do your color mixing in that. Acrylics last for a good while, but if you're not painting all the time, you may not use a large tube. So this is a good kind of beginner set to use.
Very good. Good to know. Okay, so we're going to start painting in the next one. Okay, let's start it up.
I've got a little tiny brush I'm going to use, and I'm going to kind of sketch in where his mask is first of all. And using this acrylic paint, I'm not mixing any water with it or anything. I'm using it just like it is. I'm going to kind of put in with my small brush where his mask is. It'll kind of begin to come together very quickly. Remember I told you to have some paper towels? I think I might have mentioned that. But your paper towels, make sure you dry your brush off in between, and keep your colors from mingling too much. Now I'm going to switch to my red, and I'm just going to go ahead and paint my whole little guy with this red. I'm covering over, for the most part, I'm covering over my my pen. Your pencil will cover a lot better than my pen marks will, but I was using the pen so you could see it a little better. So our little pretty guy is coming right along. He's already a real striking little fella, isn't he? And I've noticed that something I didn't mention, I'm going to do a little black line where his wing shape is that I can kind of paint around. You could paint that in later, but I'm going to do it now with my small brush so that I'll remember where it is, basically. I'm still using a really small brush, but I could switch at this point to a larger brush, slightly larger, because I'm not working in a close area now. I'm working on a bigger area around his, his body's bigger than his little face was, obviously, so. And he is really coming right along. He's a very striking little bird. And there are a lot of sweet stories about cardinals, that when a cardinal visits, it's a loved one coming to visit you. And I like to think about that, but I love them just because they're beautiful little birds. It's enough that a little cardinal's coming to visit. Wintertime especially, it's lovely to have the birds visiting. The sky can be dark and gloomy. The clouds can be around, and got these sweet little friends that come to visit. Bring its joy. And of course, you don't have to be holding up your little board like I am. It's probably easier to set it down. So there we have a pretty cute little cardinal shape. Like I said, he's angled a little differently than he was in my drawing. And that's just how things come out. So that's the fun of working in art. You never know. It's an adventure. You never know exactly what you're going to end up with. You hope you'll end up with something pleasing to you, and that's all it has to be. Okay, so we've got our little bird pencil. Pretty much. We can add some more to him, but he's a cute little guy right now, and I'm going to do his little tiny beak. I'm going to switch back to my small brush, and I've got a yellow, kind of a golden yellow here. It's a raw sienna, and another yellow. So I'm going to, their beaks aren't bright yellow. They're more toned down. So if you wanted to add a little brown and yellow together, that would be a good beak color. So there we've got a little sweet bird.
Great. That's good. If you hear noise in the background, we just had groceries delivered at my house. the joys of working at home, and I had asked them to do it a little bit later, but I'll take it when I can get it, right? So anyway, that was beautiful. Bringing the cardinals to me are just a beautiful bird, and you really notice them. They're there year round. They don't leave, and especially the last few days that have, at least here in the Montgomery area, have been very gray. You look outside and you see those beautiful red birds, and to be able to bring that in and see that all the time is wonderful. So we will move on to the next. Margaret, do you have any questions at this point on anything?
Not any right offhand, no. I do. We'll talk about craft paints later. Just because. Okay. Don't let me forget.
All right. We'll do that. Yeah. Okay. We'll move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Now we'll move along. I'm going to give him some little little brown legs. You really don't have to paint those feet in because it's going to be a kind of a part of the branch. So don't worry too much. A lot of times we worry over details that really aren't that important in a painting. What's going to draw your eye into this painting is going to be that bright bird. So a lot of the little details really won't be noticed as much. Okay, so I'm gonna, I've got a brown here, and I'm just gonna make slightly lighter brown for my branch. Like I say, it can go from one end. If you want it to go from one end of the paper to the other, or the little board, that's fine. I'm just gonna kind of leave it artistically stopped in the middle. So we've got our bird, his little branch. I'll do some little, once that is dry, I'll probably do some little feet for him. I've got the green and the yellow beside each other so that we can kind of mix a nice green. A little bit of yellow with that green is going to be pretty. You can get a nice little mixture there. Even a little brown in that would make it a nice, more natural green. And I'm gonna do part of the, I'm gonna do our little leaves. Kind of test it out, see if you like that shade of green. I think it's pretty. I'm gonna do a darker side, one dark side and one light side on these leaves. Then I'll switch back and add a little, do kind of a darker green for this part. Just so you have a little contrast with there. That's a nice decorative contrast. And it's coming along really well. I hope you like yours.
Okay, good. I have one question that I wanted to ask very quickly, and then I want to move quick to the next one. Kind of on the last video, when you were painting the black line on the wing, do you have to worry when you're painting in then red right next to it that it may blur or run or into each other, smear, or does it dry fairly quickly?
Good question. It does dry fairly quickly, and sometimes a little bit of blurring is a good thing. You know, that then you have those soft edges where you're, you know, where the background meets the foreground, and that's pretty too. That's a pretty effect.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next one. I think I'm hoping I'm clicking.
We're moving along still. All right, we got our red berries here. Make sure your brush is nice and dry in between colors. You know, once you rinse it and dry it off, and then make sure it's real dry. Otherwise, you get a real, too watery. Especially on wood or canvas, you're going to need a fairly firm paint. So we've got that. I'm looking up here, up in the top area for my leaves. If you can see that up close, it's, I've got a lot of variation in the colors. I've got a little more yellow in those top leaves. And they're also not just perfectly done. These at the top, they're a little, so that's kind of a different little style. I think I'll add a little bit of white to my light green, make it even lighter, maybe a little more yellowy. Just kind of keep blending until you find a color you really enjoy, one that I think he's really coming along. Like I said, if I didn't, usually I don't draw it in pen, but to be able to demonstrate, it's better in pen. Your pencil lines should not be showing much. If they are, they'll just, once that first coat is dry, you can put another little coat on it. One good thing about painting on board, you can turn it any way you want. And on down over that little center line too. And that can be the darker green. If you've got a green, a brown mixed in with that makes a nice natural looking shade of green. Let me go back and add a little bit of that browner green to my other leaves.
Nice, we're almost finished. And you do it so quickly. Let's move on to one more.
Okay.
And then
Now our last little part is to put the background in, and that is totally up to you. If you like the way your project looks now without a painted background, you like the color of the wood or whatever surface you're working on, that is absolutely fine. You can leave it just like it is. But I'm going to do a white background, just to kind of have a little fun. I'm not ready to finish yet. And I'm going to use a real loose brush stroke here. Just and I'm going to leave some of it not filled in. I'm just going to that's how I'm doing mine. And you're welcome to do a very careful little background. It can be any color you want. We're kind of thinking of a cardinal in snow, maybe a snowy background. It's also a good way if you made any little mistakes or got out of, he wasn't exactly the shape you wanted, you can always kind of change.
great. Oh, did it take the video off, didn't it? Hold on a second. It did. It stopped. So let me go back because I was trying to pull up something that we could do. I'm going to have to start it again. Let me do it again. I'm sorry about that.
Now our last little part is to put the background in, and that is totally up to you. If you like the way your project looks now without a painted background, you like the color of the wood or whatever surface you're working on, that is absolutely fine. You can leave it just like it is. But I'm going to do a white background, just to kind of have a little fun. I'm not ready to finish yet. And I'm going to use a real loose brush stroke here. Just and I'm going to leave some of it not filled in. I'm just going to that's how I'm doing mine. And you're welcome to do a very careful little background. It can be any color you want. We're kind of thinking of a cardinal in snow, maybe a snowy background. It's also a good way if you made any little mistakes or got out of, he wasn't exactly the shape you wanted, you can always kind of change at this point. Kind of correct mistakes. It's a nice way to be able to correct little things here and there. Or change the direction of lines, that kind of thing. Happy little bird, happy little leaves. Something nice and bright for your January. He really shows up a lot better with that white background, so that may just be something you want to add. I'm not going to try and get in between all these leaves. I think that would not, it's just not important. It's, you know, it can be just as pretty, but the way it is. But we are almost done, and I think he's going to turn out really well. And I was able to change the shape. Did you see how I did that? That changed the shape just a little bit of his little top knot. So that is one reason I do love doing a background, because I can kind of look at things, you know, look at things in a different way and say, do I really want it just that way or not? And it's, you know, totally up to you, the artist. Okay, there he is. And the last step, of course, would be removing the tape. And I'm going to pull it off so you can see how it ends up looking. Oh, I've had fun. I've had fun working with y'all. On this, my wood caught a little bit, but that just gives a nice little roughness to it. And there we have our little project. I hope yours turned out. I will go ahead. I'm going to sign this. One easy way to sign this instead of trying to paint your name in is to use a little Sharpie. That's one little trick you can use that makes it very easy to sign your name. So there's our little cardinal for January, and until we meet again, keep painting.
Thank you. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. We had several comments, or a few comments that came in, and Danae Morgan with the Armory said she loves him. He's so cute, and I would have to agree. So did Lisa Billingsley said he looks great. And then Danae also said she's going to do this. She's definitely doing this project. I am too. I have tried all these projects, so they are fun. And I apologize if this is going on, if that's my noise.
Well, and I wanted to ask Carol about the brushes. As if I'm a beginner and I'm just kind of trying to find something that's a good, cost-effective way to be able to do some art, but I'm still trying to figure out whether I really want to invest. I know you showed us the paint sets. Would you show us the type of brush you would recommend for this project?
I will. I recommend a couple of different brushes, and one would be kind of a round brush. And if you'll go in the your hobby stores, they have just lots and lots of brushes to pick from. So it is kind of confusing sometimes. But you need a fairly small, for a project like this, fairly small, what they call a flat brush. It's just a little flat. It's got just a little flat top, and then another what that's round. And I would avoid the brush sets that come in packs of 10, and you get all these varieties, and they're very inexpensive. I'd really spend a little more money on the brush, because a brush is a very important tool when you're painting. So that's going to make as much as the paint and what you're painting on, your brush is going to make a huge difference. And so to avoid frustration while you're painting and to have a good project, when you finish, just invest in they don't have to be expensive, but look for just a couple of brushes that are more useful.
Carol, do those have like a number? I know I've seen numbers on
actually they do, yes. Yeah, you're right. Yes, I'm using actually this one's called a filbert. Has kind of a little rounded edge, and it's a number 6.
Cool.
So that's a good size. And the round brush I was using, that's a number 8.
Number 8.
So
okay.
that's a good one. Yeah, good question, because it does get confusing.
So these little craft paints are still they're okay to use. They're not going to damage your nice brush like that. They're just a good cost-effective way to be able to have some color on your palette or on your
They
paint.
are. And one
surface.
nice thing, one really nice thing about those craft paints, Margaret, is that they come, you can go wild on the colors, and they're, fairly inexpensive. So it's, it's fun. So you can, pick all your colors without mixing them. And if you don't know a lot about color mixing, that's a nice way to do it. So,
and if you want to learn something about color mixing, you could take Carol's acrylics class and learn some more.
Yes, you
There
sure
you go.
can. I'd love to have you. Yeah. But one
Excellent.
thing too, I just wanted to mention that, in this time when we're all, quarantined and isolated and that kind of thing, to me, creativity is such a wonderful release. I'd call it my best therapy ever. When I get into my studio and just, can spend several hours painting, it just takes you to another world. It's just, it's fun. It's something fun to do. It doesn't have to be, anything, just like the little Cardinal project, a small project that helps us feel good when we get done.
And just buying a set of those paints like you were showing, people can just experiment on different kinds of, whether it's an art pad or different kinds of paper or just whatever paper you have at home, just having some fun.
Exactly. And, something, since you mentioned that, you can always use the little, like a watercolor sketch pad, and you can paint the acrylics on that, just, straight onto that. So that's nice too. Just like you said, just experimenting with creativity. And
I bought my daughter this for Christmas, a spiral bound pad of art paper that she can use, or anyone could use, for almost a journal, an art journal or something like that you could do and just kind of document some of these days and make it a bright time, and a very creative time. I think. Well, Carol, thank you so much for joining us today. I do want to end, and you too, Margaret, of course. We'll see you again next month. Next month it is actually going to be,
Bill Ford.
well, you talk about it. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
No.
Bill Ford is going to walk us through some. For Black History Month, we're gonna walk through some public art in the city, and he's gonna give us the significance of these pieces and kind of enlighten us a little bit. It's always good to have some enlightenment, and it'll be fun. And there's gonna be some really nice pieces that he's gonna be able to show us.
Excellent. So we'll look forward to that next month. We will always be now at the same time every month at 1:00, the second Wednesday of the month. Watch ARP Alabama's Facebook page, and we'll announce it every time. Also, I want to end with some other things that we have coming up this month with AARP. So I'll end with a video. Thank you again, ladies, for joining us.
Thank you so much. Good to be here.